Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's Astrology News Report, presenting an alternate view of world events as seen through the lens of Vedic astrology. I'm Ron Berger. Today is July 30th, 2023. In this report, we'll be taking a look at what's coming up in the zodiac for August 2023. But before we begin, an important announcement. The weekly videos on this channel are available to people who donate to the channel. You are watching the once-a-month free public video. If you would like to have access to the upcoming month's weekly reports, stick around for the link at the end of this video to make your donation. Thanks. Venus began its retrograde period on July 22nd. This retrograde period of Venus will be in progress all through August and into the beginning of September. Venus began its retrograde at 4 degrees sidereal Leo. After 2 weeks, Venus backs into sidereal Cancer on August 7th and finishes its retrograde on September 3rd at 18 degrees Cancer. Since Venus is a naturally benefic planet, its retrograde period isn't too bad. But it's important to remember that Venus's significations won't be operating normally. The planet of relationship going backwards means people go through a time of reconsidering relationships, not just romance, all types of relationships. Venus is negotiations and agreement. When Venus is retrograde, negotiations take longer, or people want to renegotiate, to go back over the agreement. The planet of value going backwards means reconsidering value. In other words, buyer's remorse is common during Venus retrograde, and therefore best to not be making important purchases during this Venus retrograde. After the first week of August, Venus will be retrograde in the sign Cancer. Cancer is an emotional sign ruled by the moon. Due to the moon's inconstant nature, retrograde Venus in this position becomes especially sensitive and vulnerable to changes in relationships. Note that, in the Vedic astrology chart of the USA, Cancer is the 8th house sign. One of the significations of the 8th house of a nation's chart concerns the country's financial relationships with other countries. Since Venus is the planet of finance, when it goes backwards in the 8th house of a nation's chart, it indicates reconfiguring the foreign exchange rates. Venus is the planet of guidance and counsel, and therefore Venus represents lawyers. When Venus is retrograde, lawyers tend to screw up more than usual. Every 4 months, Mercury goes through a retrograde period that lasts 3 weeks. The last Mercury retrograde period was from late April until mid-May. The next one begins on August 23rd, starting at 27 degrees in sidereal Leo. Mercury will appear to back up in the zodiac for 23 days until it reaches 13 degrees Leo on September 15th. Then, after appearing to hang motionless in the heavens for a day, Mercury will slowly resume normal forward motion, and its significations will slowly return to normal. Mercury retrograde periods are well known for causing problems in everyday operations. A retrograde planet is being held back from making normal progress, and therefore its significations get delayed. Since Mercury is the planet of communications and writing, the letter will be late, and emails don't get answered promptly. When the planet of speech is not operating normally, there are more misunderstandings. Mercury is the planet of rational thinking. When it is retrograde, people think illogically. Mercury is the planet of business transactions. When Mercury is retrograde, mistakes in transactions are more likely. Mercury is the planet of communications equipment. When it is retrograde, equipment failure is more likely. The planet of news and the media going backwards means that news reports are more often incorrect, especially at first. But retrograde Mercury can be useful for some things. The planet of communications going back over a previously traversed section of the zodiac implies dealing with communications from the past, such as answering past correspondence, or paying past bills, or simply getting back in touch with someone. It's also a good time for rethinking, reworking a project, or editing a report or manuscript. The most problematic part of this Mercury retrograde will be at the beginning, when Mercury will be retrograde at the same time as Venus. Having the planet of relationship in trouble at the same time as the planet of communications means that misunderstandings are even more likely between people. Mars continues its transit in Leo until the middle of August. The planet of action likes being in a sign that uses action as a strategy for dealing with things. But while Mars transits in Leo, it is being opposed by Saturn, the planet of restriction. This is a pattern that slows down achievement of results and causes frustration. Then, on August 18th, Mars changes signs and enters sidereal Virgo. In this sign, Mars will no longer be opposed by Saturn, but instead will, initially, be opposed by Neptune, having the planet of action influenced by the planet of fantasy, confusion, and deception is not a particularly good thing. The exact opposition is on August 22nd. So beware the second half of August. Actions will tend to produce unintended consequences. Mars in Virgo is the planet of force, aggression, actions, in the sign of details and analysis. Virgo is exacting. Virgo pays attention to the little things and gets upset when the details are wrong. This combination of planet and sign results in fighting over the details. A Virgo Mars is more likely to be critical and may use underhanded methods. Note that since Mercury is the ruler of Virgo, Mars in Virgo means that Mars's aggressive energy is being transferred to Mercury. Mars and Mercury are enemies in Vedic astrology. Mars causes distortion to Mercury's significations. This means that the upcoming Mercury retrograde period will be more problematic than otherwise. I'll be giving more analysis about Mars in Virgo in a report in August. In the USA Vedic astrology chart, Virgo is the 10th house sign. The 10th house is the house of the leadership, in other words, the president and his administration. Mars, planet of aggression and conflict, will be transiting in this sector from mid-August until early October. Opposite the 10th house lies the 4th house, which is the house of the opposition to the leader. In other words, the Republicans at this point. It's a setup for what will be happening in September, the budget talks. Okay, so there's a brief look at planetary patterns for August 2023, and here's a description of what's coming up in August's videos. August 6th, an analysis of the Venus retrograde period in Cancer during August. August 13th, Mars is transit in Virgo, and the effects for each rising sign chart. August 20th, Mercury Retrograde in Leo, and the effects for your rising sign chart. August 27th, current transits and their effects on politics and world events. You'll not want to miss out on all these great upcoming videos, so if you would like to have access to August's weekly reports, donate $20 by clicking on or touching the donation card you see at the end of this video, which will take you to the donation page. And if $20 for a month is too much for you, you can donate $10. The link to each week's report will be sent to you via your email. Here's the link. Just click or touch the card, which will take you to the donation page. And if the card does not appear or doesn't work, you can find the link in the comments section below. Thank you, and until next week.